Today we're going to talk about flowers. That's two flowers. Flowers have stems and leaves. And usually flowers are found on soil, which has grass on top of it. When there's a bunch of flowers, it becomes a garden. So we can call this a garden. In a garden, there's also different kind of flowers. So these were purple flowers. There can also be blue flowers. Flowers don't need to necessarily be one color. So there can be a flower which is yellow, but also white. So that's one flower. The one thing that is mandatory for all flowers is that they have to have a stem. They can't just float in air because that would not be a garden, that would be a haunted garden. And today we're just drawing a garden. Although it's not necessary for all flowers to have leaves, most of them do. So we're gonna draw the leaves. Again, leaves don't have to look the same way. This is a leaf, but so is this, and so is this. Leaves have a life of their own, which we can talk about in detail. So, in its simplest form, this is a leaf. The leaf has this sort of middle thing that is sort of the extension of the stem. You can think of it as the leaf's spine, and it's necessary for the leaf to have a spine in order to do dangerous things. Then, stemming from this spine are these subspines. We'll call them spinelets, which extend towards the edge. What they do is that they transport the nutrients from this middle stem, which has gotten nutrients from the bigger stem of the plant, which we showed in the previous frame. And these stemlets then distribute those nutrients towards the farther parts of the leaf, right? So one of the way to look at the leaf is to look at it as a town, in which we can think of this middle part, the spine, as a river. We can think of these things, the spinelets, as tributaries. And this entire thing is just one big village. Okay. So there are houses at the edge, which are the outskirts of the town, of the village. So I will use town and village interchangeably because I'm ignorant. What? Okay, so there apparently Procreate tells me that there's not just houses, there's also pyramids here. We'll agree to that because if there are alive people somewhere, there will also be dead people. That's a law of nature. And as we all know, dead people live in pyramids necessarily. So If a place has houses, it also needs to have pyramids to store the dead. Anyway, this is what the leaf is really. That's all the leaf does, you know. It's just a city slash village slash town with a well networked water channel system because everybody needs water to live. Let's get back to our garden. Okay. One of the primary activities that can be carried out in this garden is, as we mentioned, watering the garden. That's an important hobby to have for people with gardens because if they don't take up this task and consider it fun, they will have to rely on rain for quenching the thirst of their garden. And if the place they live in is not very rainy, the garden will die, and then they will have to create a pyramid for the garden because we know that every dead thing goes in a pyramid. So that's the first hobby that you can have as a garden owner. The second hobby that you can have as a garden owner is watching. So you can sit against a wall and watch your garden. You can stand and watch your garden. You can lie down and watch your garden. You can fly and watch your garden. Right? Because if you don't watch the garden, then the garden doesn't exist. So, in order to bring the garden into existence, you have to watch the garden in any of these four ways. No other way is allowed. Let's go to hobby number three and the last hobby that you need to have if you want to have a garden. So, what this hobby is buzzing, right? So, you know what human life is about? It's about being born and it's about growing, right? But sometimes we all die and go into pyramids. And when we get into pyramids, there needs to be somebody who needs to replace us. Otherwise, the entire world will just become a reservoir of pyramids, and that's not, that's unsustainable. Similarly, gardens also have mechanisms of having new flowers once the original flowers become pyramids. And a sub process in that bigger process is buzzing. In order to do buzzing efficiently, you need to wrap yourself in a yellow blanket. You need to put black stripes on that blanket, and then you need to fly around. In any direction you can fly, the direction is not fixed. But you do need to fly around the flowers of your garden in order to sustain it. Not in the short term. In the short term, it doesn't matter. But in the long term, if you want to sustain it, you need to take buzzing as a hobby that you enjoy, do diligently, practice with discipline, and also preach to other garden owners. Otherwise, your garden will thus forever remain a garden pyramid. That's all we had to learn today. I hope you start a garden and you take up these three hobbies and you let me know how it goes. I hope you come back next time to get more advice about gardens and any other institution that you can own and the hobbies you need in order to sustain your institution.